working in the background on a very important program here. I'm talking to you.
Good evening again. Good evening, and once again, welcome to the Liberian Diaspora Forum Weekly Talk Show. Tonight, we have the privilege of hosting the President of the Federation of the Liberian Communities in Australia, FOLICA. I'm speaking of Honorable Bobby Whitfield. Honorable Bobby Whitfield holds a Master's of Development Practice from University of Queensland. He's currently employed as Community Development Coordinator at Brisbane City Council. He's also a board member of the Refugee Council of Australia. He's been since 2008. Honorable Whitfield is a regular guest presenter at the University of Queensland on refugee issues to the Australia-Indonesia Intergovernmental Collaboration on Immigration. He's been doing so since 2006. He has worked as a Senior Community Development Officer at the Multicultural Development Association, visiting Settlement Advisor for the Australian Government Department of Immigration and Citizenship Program and Center, Coordinator for the Annalee Literacy Center, respectively. Excuse me if I said that wrong. Honorable Whitfield served as a member of the Queensland Government Multicultural Community Ministerial Advisory Committee from 2008 to 2010. Our guest tonight, Honorable Bobby Whitfield, is a founding member and former president of both the Liberian Association of Queensland and the Queensland African Communities Council, respectively. Bobby is the current president of the Federation of Liberian Communities in Australia, FOLICA for short. FOLICA is the national peak body representing all people of Liberian heritage and their communities in Australia. It is a strong, united voice for community well-being and provides a forum for the development of the Liberian communities in Australia. It currently has 7 chapters across Australia. The management committee acts as a board of FOLICA and sees the day-to-day running of the organization. That's who we have tonight, ladies and gentlemen. With that said, I will turn the floor over to our guest, so he will begin his brief remark, and then we'll get going from there. So once again, welcome to everyone. Welcome to the Liberian Diaspora Forum. And as always, my name is Kafumba Kroma, your host. Thank you. Honorable Whitfield?
Thank you, Mr. Kafumba Kroma, and thank you to all your listeners. I really appreciate the brief introduction. Like this, my name is Bobby Whitfield, and I'm the president here of the Federation of Liberian Communities in Australia. Look, this is an opportunity, a great privilege to appear on your show tonight and be able to share or raise awareness of the Liberian community here in Australia to your listeners, as well as to the government and people of Liberia. I would like to first of all start by wishing all those in Radio Land, your listeners, happy Easter. I know it is a very long weekend, and everybody is going to be going about their normal rituals of celebrating Easter. So the Liberian community in Australia would like to start by wishing everyone a happy Easter. Mr. Kafuma, it's always a great pleasure when we spoke and you extended the invitation for somebody from Australia to appear on your show, and we were talking about topics to speak about. And I said, well, look, my background is in development, so I'm happy to speak about development, but I also think this is a great opportunity to hear from the leadership and people of Australia, especially the Liberian diaspora in Australia. Look, the Liberian community in Australia is a very young community, very young and emerging community. I don't want to underestimate that Liberians been in this country, quite a few families been here for over 20 to 30 years. But a huge majority of the community members started to come to this country about 10 to 15 years ago. And it's a very young community in terms of number as well. I will roughly give an estimation of between 6,000 to 10,000 Liberians across the whole of Australia. It is nowhere near the number of people in Liberians in America. Liberians been going or coming from America since Charlie King time. But just to give you a bit of a background of the community has emerged with this strong leadership very recently. And credit to all other leadership of the Federation and all state leaderships within the Liberian communities across the country, that we have come with this strong united voice to start raising awareness of our plight here in Australia, but also build a purposeful relationship with the government and people of Liberia, as well as the broader Liberian diaspora community. So thank you, Brother Kafumba. We are very open, and we want to encourage every Liberian, anywhere you are in the world, that Australia, if ever you were thinking about somewhere to migrate to, Australia will be one of the best choices you ever made in your life. We are very grateful to the government and people of Australia for extending us the humanitarian gesture, as most of us came here through the refugee program, like I said, 10 to 15 years ago now, and they have never, disappointed Liberians in this country. They are services, they are, protection, and they are everything you think about to make life and settlement a smooth journey for Liberians in this country. So for that, we are very grateful to the people and the government of this land, and we just have got all of the opportunities we need to move forward. The community is growing. It's growing in terms of potential. When we first came, we had to struggle, find a job, get settled in homes. But I can tell you, education now becoming a priority. There are Liberians all around this country earning their master's degrees. Some are even moving aspired now as, getting their PhD. And the potential is huge. They have built incredible networks in their individual, activities across this country. And they are well representing Liberians very well. I love my people. They are decent, hardworking, and strong people in this country, and they are committed to whatsoever developmental process that is going on back home, as well as, remain in constant contact with their family members across the world. So I want to tell you that it's a very positive community. It's a very inspired and very innovative and focused community. We want to see the best outcome for our motherland Liberia, but as well as our settlement journey here in Australia. So look, Kafumba, when you spoke to me and we talked about what topic to discuss, I was, okay, Kafumba, let's go for development. And I think what I would say before I can, open up for the broader discussion is development. I would really like for people to understand that it's a double-edged sword. Development. A lot of the time we use the word development and we tend to shift blame and cast blame, and I sometimes really am taken aback. I see some of my friends post photos of some, developed cities around the world on Facebook, and they say, oh, when Liberia is going to be like this, and, and people comment and, followed by criticisms and all that kind of stuff. And that's just the surface. You can take a photo of any city and say, it's good to have a dream and to work towards it. But development for Liberia is really got to be looked at critically. For example, we are talking about infrastructure, roads, and, you name the rest, good schools, good hospitals, and all that stuff. If we don't have the manpower to operate these things, for example, you can build a 5, 6, 7-lane road, Monrovia, throughout the country. What happened in 2 years' time if the road started, wear away? Do you have the engineers? Do you have the equipment? So we need to really invest. If we are talking about development, we need to invest in our people. So it's people, productivity, and prosperity. That's how I'm going to look at it. So I'll be urging, the government has done incredibly well. Let us be honest. Incredibly well in so many different areas. Liberian name is raising again in the international community because of the government, constant lobbying and constant positive image they have portrayed about the country. We have seen the government advocate so, well in terms of debt reduction and all of the kind of stuff, which are all fundamental things that need to be tackled, and the government went through these things. For the past how many years. I remember when I was in the refugee camp, as a refugee, one of those feelings that really got down to me was the feeling of being nostalgic. I always wanted to go back home, but I couldn't go back home because what? The people were fighting. There was war. And for the past, couple of years now, there have been uninterrupted peace in Liberia. That should be given credit to not only to the government, but to every Liberian who have, held together to maintain and protect the peace in the country. So for that, we are very grateful. Liberians from all over the world can travel back home. But there are a lot of things that the government still need to tackle, and it will require, people, working together to see that these things are tackled. One of those issues that are impediment to development, it is something to do with corruption. You cannot have, corruption as a lead, issue of the day, almost like an order of the day. Everybody in the country somehow. It's not just government. It's everybody. You got your family member, they have to, make up stories just to get money out of you, That's corruption. You got what more of a government official. So if we are talking about corruption, we should look at it from all aspects of society and tackle it. And I think that would be a very helpful, issue in terms of speeding up the development that we need in the country. So corruption needs to be tackled. But we must build the capacity of our people. If the government does not invest in its people, the best investment any leadership can do is in its people. And I don't see that coming forward. The education system needs to be revamped. If you want to invest in your people, you start with the education system. You got almost half of the country, or even more than half of the country, unemployed. Why are they not employed? It's because of the lack of education. Or those who are educated are not, are being given the level playing field to perform and to be innovative. You need the government to really step in and do something about the education system. Our teachers are great if you give them the necessary resources. Our students are going to be the best if we start to put the necessary resources into their learning. Look, this country, one thing they pride themselves of Australia is their education. It's one of the largest exports to the rest of the world. People from all over the world come to Australia to get the education and go back. We got to start looking at education seriously. We don't have to use education as a weapon against our people. We must look at education seriously if we're talking about development, because it is only through education our agriculturists going to, have the best knowledge out there to produce. Why is it that petit farmer is just producing for he and his family? There's a lot of things for which I cannot make a huge farm for the rest of the country. If I make a huge farm, there is no storage or, warehouse facility to store the produce that I'm going to be providing. I don't have the capacity or the capital, So these things got to be tackled from the grassroots, the very grassroots. And I think the government is doing a lot, but I still also see the rhetorics, the gap between the rhetorics and the practice in Liberia is just huge. If the government is saying something on paper, they should actually be implementing these things. And what we stand to do in the Australian diaspora here is to work with the government in a positive way, use our position here, leverage businesses, leverage the government here in Australia, and try to make a difference in Liberia. And the management committee of the Federation of Liberian Communities, we are working on every project idea is possible, and very soon we're going to be having a national project in Liberia, but we want to encourage Liberians around the world that, look, this is no time to go back into, division and faction and all of this stuff. It's time to move forward to a bigger, better, and brighter future. Thank you, Dr. Matt.
Thank you, Honorable Whitfield. Wow, now I know that I made the right selection. Now I understand precisely why you continue to help various Liberian and other organizational leadership positions in where you are. Folks, you've just listened to our guest tonight, Honorable Bobby Whitfield, calling from all the way in Australia. So I now invite you to begin answering your questions. If you have any question, comment, or concern about development specifically and any other issue of national concern, by all means, please dial *61 on your phone so that we can let you ask your question of our guest. As usual, if for some reason you cannot do that, by all means, you may text your question to 612-203-3820. And if that doesn't work for you either, you can, by all means, you can email a question to Liberian Diaspora Forum at live.com. Or you can go to our Facebook account. I just added that today. We do have a Facebook account. We haven't been promoting that for some reason, but we encourage you if for some reason you can dial *61 to test your question, and you can test your question to 612-203-3820. Email it to Liberian Diaspora Forum at live.com, or send it to our Facebook account. I got all of those accounts open right here, looking at them. So with that said, I'd like to begin, Honorable Whitfield, by asking you, last month we had the privilege of hosting the Honorable Minister of Gender and Development, Honorable Cassell. Now, I'm mentioning her because she happens to be in charge of at least overseeing the development project of Liberia, something that we are discussing tonight, and also something that you are well trained in. You have masters in development. So if you were the Minister of Development today, if you were in her position on the development side, what are the things that you like to see right off the bat? Where should we start? Where does Liberia need to begin as far as development goes?
Look, it's all too good to go out there and lobby, get millions of dollars, bring it into the country, and at the end of the day, it goes into the pocket of corrupt, civil servant or ministers or what have you, and no action is taken. But the online issue here is you have not invested in the people. Development must start with the people. If the people are not developed, no matter what infrastructure you got up there, it won't last. It is not going to be sustainable because those infrastructure are driven by the people, demanded by the people. So we will be starting with investing in our people, making sure that, Australia has provided scholarships to a lot of Liberians, and a lot of other countries have done the same. But why can't we look at it from another perspective? We want to go out and get an education from the Western world, fair enough. But why can't we get some of the Western, teachers to come and infuse our teaching system, to come and be part of the system, to come on teacher exchange program? I know these things may be happening, but on a very small scale. If you would spend up to $200,000-$300,000 to get one person trained in the Western world and acquire a master's degree, $200,000-$300,000 can revitalize a school in one of those villages, and you will have almost 500 kids going through high school there. So these are things. It's a careful balance act. Very carefully balanced. So I would start my development agenda will be in the people. And my specialty is in community development. It's about dialoguing with the people, getting the people to take initiative. And if the people are in full control of their development, and I said it earlier on here that, what I see is the gap between rhetoric and practice in Liberia is huge. We have got every really good thing. Our president will speak all of the things you think about development, and if you read it, you say, yes, it's happening. Now look at what happened. When David Cameron went to Liberia, he could see it, He was not reading from the paper, but he could actually see what was breaking on the paper and what the reality on the ground, and he spoke against some of those things. So we got to start investing in our people. It is no important, of no use if, 60% of the population live in poverty, and we are trying to brandish our, success and achievement. The Honorable Minister said it's good, somebody spoke about corruption, and they asked her, what are you doing about corruption? And I know this is a very classic line of every government official today. Years ago, nobody knew or could speak about corruption in Liberia. Yeah, years ago, there was no such thing like the Internet or Facebook or, the media now is this now for people to share ideas. So that is not something the government should hold as credit because people speaking of corruption openly. No. I don't think the government should give herself a pat on the back for that. What the government should be giving herself a pat on the back for is the actual, implementation of those strategies that will eradicate corruption. And I believe the people are talking about corruption. I think it's an improvement. I don't think that was a very, prudent answer for any government minister. But like I said, I would tackle the people, invest in our people. Employment. There's a lot to be done in Liberia, but you got a lot of people out of work and they are not doing it, and they just have the means. I heard stories of our scholarship students going back and they go back to a situation where they have to really struggle to get back into positions and all that kind of stuff. We want to say that you are on a scholarship, the job is already there. And I know the government is trying to, improve these things, but I will start with investing in our people. And like I said from the beginning of the presentation, development is a double-edged sword. We shouldn't make any mistakes. There are, underlying objectives of people who come to support us. They don't come because they are prophets or what have you. They come because they got invested interest. And our people got to be awakened to the fact. Look, if you see the U.S. pumping dollars into Liberia or Australia or what have you, they have got interest. It is almost a period of the colonization of Africa that we are going into again, or that we are already faced with. And the challenge here is between, Europe, America, and, the emerging economy, China and India. These guys also want to develop. To develop, you must honor develop. That is the reality. Development and honor development, they are both sides of the same coin. They are both sides of the same coin. In order for India to get the resources they need to build the infrastructure to sustain their population, they must come somewhere to find those resources, and they must find it very cheap. That's the essence of capitalism. Exploit, get the best, maximize profits. So our people, being at the receiving end of that, objective, they must be able to make the most of whatsoever data they spend. But if those investors are coming and see, our people who are in authority, eager to just take chicken thief as bribe, then the rest of the money that's supposed to go into the community as a social corporate responsibility is not going to go there. It's going to end up in somebody's, pocket somewhere, living a luxury life while our people keep suffering. Look, invest in our people. Let our people be empowered through education, and they can support their own development agenda. They can drive their own development agenda. So I will be starting from there.
Thank you. Folks, if you're just joining us, once again, welcome to the Liberian Diaspora Forum Weekly Talk Show. We have Honorable Bobby Whitfield, the President of the Liberian Community in Australia. I've got my first text message question here, and this comes from Emmanuel, and he writes that right at this very moment, leaders of the Liberian Union of Liberian Association, ULA, are currently on another show discussing dual citizenship for Liberia and Liberians. So what is your organization doing about that? How are you in support of that? And if so, are you working with ULA leadership here in any way, form, or shape?
Thank you. And thank you, Emmanuel, for the question. Look, it's a very important debate, and we've been following it, but I think the debate started long before FOLICA structure came to this level. And we've been doing a lot of work to get ourselves in a position ready to engage our other colleagues, especially the big bodies around the globe. Just to speak about the debate, I think it is insane for anybody to think that I am not a Liberian because I acquired citizenship elsewhere. I left Liberia at a very young age, 17, 18. Not on my own will. I left because of the Civil War and had to live in Guinea for 10 or so years and got, the opportunity to be resettled in Australia. So I said, no, if I go to Australia and I become citizen there tomorrow, I will not be Liberian citizen. No, man. Let us be realistic here. And besides, we've got our families, our friends, our loved ones stay in Liberia. We got properties in Liberia, and what we do every day, each and every one of us in the diaspora, we contribute to the development of Liberia on a daily basis. Look, just last financial year, it stated that almost $350,000+ was, invested through remittances in Liberia. And sometimes we in the diaspora we overlook these things. It is not just one person who sent $350 million to Liberia. It is each and every one of us, our $50, our $10, $20 that we send through the Western Union or through whatsoever transfer, it goes there. And that money doesn't just go to our family or loved ones. It's actually help to generate economic activity in the community. I will give you an example. You send $50 to your grandma in a village. She's not going to take that $50 as note and board it in a pot and eat it. No. She's going to spend that $50 in goods. Maybe she went to the local clinic there and bought medicine or drugs from the shelf. She'll come home and treat herself. The $50 is now with the owner of that clinic. What he's going to do with that $50, he's going to bring in more goods so that the next person who I don't even know from anywhere but lives in that same village for sake, they will have drugs on the shelf to buy. That is what we are talking about. And this is how we support, economic and social activities in the country. So that is our contribution, even though whatsoever little amount that we are sending, we may not see it as important, but it is very important to the economy. If it stops, there will be serious impact there. So all of these things that we are doing in terms of contributing to lives, and development back home, for somebody to come and say some 1847, constitutional clause got by me because I've taken our citizenship. I mean, the country is not ready yet for development because a lot of people are thinking about going back home after 15 or so years living in the West and exile. You want to go back home to start building a property. You want to go back home to get involved in business. Investment in Liberia will not only be, foreigners. Investment could be our own Liberian brothers and sisters who have come from the diaspora. But if these clauses are going to be stopping them, I don't think it's the way forward. And I know there are some sensitive issues around there to explore. But natural-born Liberians should be deprived of their citizenship because they stay in exile and took up citizenship for another country. I don't think the lawmakers are ready. They should get on to a very, the Constitution was not written in stones. Those are clauses that can be amended once the motion is put forward and the resolution is carried. People should take action so that these things can be rectified in as early as possible so that Liberians can, for once, start to brave sigh relief. That where, look, I'm still connected to my country. With or without that clause, Liberians still feel connected and they are still doing their bit. So it shouldn't be an issue that will stop us, but it should be formalized, it should be legalized that we maintain our dual citizenship. Sudan, I got my colleagues here who work with me from the Sudan. We got colleagues from other parts of Africa. They all got dual citizenship. They go to Sudan and they have government ministers that come here and they are, workers in the community, What is happening to that? Why can't we tap into these huge opportunities that exist and allow ourselves to be denied of something because, somebody have taken a dual citizenship for another country? And no. I don't think that's how Liberian citizenship should be treated. It shouldn't be treated as an instrument to fight against other people. Look, we all made decisions. We struggled. Some of us didn't get it easy. To come to Australia, it was not like a dream. I live in Liberia to go to Australia like what people are doing today. We had to dodge bullets to go into exile. We lived there for over 10 plus. Some people are stay there, They are not there because they want dual citizenship or they don't. They left because there was no peace. They were fighting. And they had to stay there without food, safe drinking water. People die in the process. Some build schools and became teachers like myself, So all of these struggles shouldn't be discounted. And at a time for Liberia to start benefiting from, some opportunities that have come, then we say dual citizenship. Look, I will be visiting Liberia anytime, and I will obey the law. If I'm asked to leave, I will leave, but I will show the lawmakers that we are Liberians and we are here to contribute and we shouldn't be denied. Hello, Mr. Kasumba.
Yeah, thank you for that remark. I was saying, when I posted your appearance announcement up on Facebook earlier today, few people are commenting on the one of them specifically said that he remembered the picture from Guinea refugees that you taught him or something like that. Now you just confirmed that. And the leadership of EULA, those that are discussing dual citizenship tonight, they had contacted me earlier today upon hearing that you're coming on the show that they would appreciate if I put them in contact with you. So after the show, by your permission, we can certainly work on that. But going back to the issue of development, though, before we took that text message question, I think you overemphasized the need to invest in the people, as a way to to get the economy going. And the way to do that, if I understood you right, you were speaking mainly of the educational sector, which is a great thing. So assuming if that is the way to go, given the rise in the number of colleges and universities in Liberia now, should we agree that this government is doing very, very well there? Because there are more universities in Liberia today than there ever was, in recent time. Shouldn't we at least credit them for being on the right track there?
Yeah, look, you definitely got to give credit where credit is due. The government is, moving things in the right direction. But the number of universities would not compensate for the quality of education. So apart from just building the infrastructure and all those things, there's a lot more need to be done, especially when it comes to the quality of education. Students shouldn't be buying grades, exchanging sex for grade, all of these things. Teachers shouldn't be people who, need a job and you just give it to them. We need to really skill our teachers to be the best in the country, if not the sub-region, so that we can start competing with the rest of, the sub-region. I know, from experience, I went through the education system in Liberia before going to Guinea, and it was always tough sitting the national exam with the Ghanaians and the Nigerians and, the WAEC. It was always tough. They were always up there. But there were a few schools in Liberia, credit to them. They were always, putting Liberia very high. So we got to get these things back. We got to get these things back, and we got to really make sure that the education. But you are right. We got to give credit where credit is due. The government is investing. The universities are strengthening up in all of the places. We need the necessary resources in those universities. If the teachers are not well looked after, they can really do the job. I've been in a teaching field before, and I taught for over 6 years before coming to this country. And even though it was on a very minimum, scale, not as big teaching system like the Liberian teaching system, but I can tell you, one of those things that motivate teachers will be our, incentives. What we're getting out of it, and if we are able to support our family, if we are able to go to best town and healthy, we've got these things taken care of. We are not struggling, and our kids are not, facing problem with diarrhea because there is no safe drinking water in the community. Then we concentrate or focus on, or imparting knowledge, and we're going to go wheresoever to find the resources and prepare ourselves and go and impart knowledge. And we are not going to be, dragging ourselves behind students to give us something before we can, teach. But because of the lack of these, facilities or the resources to really motivate our teacher and empower them, then you find all of these other things creeping into the system. Teacher want to satisfy himself sexually before he can give or go to the class or give a grade or get bribes and all of these things. So look, great idea. A lot of universities springing up. Just not university. I also want to see the kindergarten as equipped as the university. It's a system. We need it. We need it right from the grassroots. If it were not because of some of the grassroots education that we got from the Lamco area school system at the time, we wouldn't be speaking here today. Our foundation is not well built. Out there, and we see it in our community. A lot of our kids that have come here in Australia or in the diaspora, because of the huge mix up on education, the age difference, they cannot really settle in the school system because of the age, and they are being disenfranchised by that. And in case that really, out there, they need some form of support. So we're working with them to see what other pathway. It's not only going through high school can get you there or university. There are vocational institutions and build your, profession in engineering and other skill areas that will earn you really good. But I would say, look, it's a great thing the government is looking at, investing in the education system, but making sure our teachers are satisfied, they are comfortable, they got access to everything necessary so that they concentrate on their job and are able to. One of the excuses I used to hear when I was teaching was, you teachers are too many, we cannot increase your salary. Oh, come on. The teachers are too many. What about the students? What's about, the products that have gone out there to become ministers and, lawmakers? They need them. If you cannot, look after your own teacher when you become a lawmaker, I don't think, you are really up for the challenge. So lawmakers should actually start looking at teacher salary. It shouldn't be about, they are too many. They are too many because the people that need education in the nation are too many. So that shouldn't be, an impediment to increase in teacher salary. Teachers should be well paid, well paid. If we want to invest in our people, the teachers must be well paid with the necessary resources. Then they will provide knowledge at that level. So we can build all of the infrastructure and take all the nice photos and everything, but if what is happening in those or universities and schools are not of any quality, you are not even going to attract students from across the border. I can tell you. You would tell me this. I don't think I can. But there were students coming from across the border to Liberia to study in those days, It should happen again. It was because of the quality of education. These things should come back to Liberia, and we should see that, we invest properly in our school system.
Thank you, and I couldn't agree more. One of the excuses for now increasing teacher salary should not be about the number of teachers. So what I say, I'll take my first caller for the night. Folks, if you're just joining us, and I've noticed quite a few of you have just joined us. Tonight we have the privilege of hosting the president for the Federation of Liberian Communities in Australia, FOLICA for short, Honorable Bobby Whitfield. He's calling from Australia. So if you have any question, comment, concern, by the way, he's speaking on the topic of development in Liberia. He did the groundwork, so if you have any comment, concern of any issue for that matter, please dial *61. So I will now take my first caller for the night. 5728-5728. Please tell us your name, where you're calling from, and your question for our guest tonight. 5728.
Thank you very much for giving the opportunity to ask our guest my little question. My name is Bengali Sawale. I'm calling from Minnesota. And Honorable Whitfield, welcome to this show, and thank you for coming to speak before on the far distance. I listened to you. Very good. I think you do understand the subject matter when it comes to development. But based on your explanation, I'm trying to get off something. Your emphasis on development pretty much dwelling on human capital development rather than infrastructure development. If that's what you really believe in, so I kind of thinking that, or should I say, are you suggesting that given our country, where we're coming from, where we are at this stage, we should first of all put infrastructure development on hold and take care of human capital development, so that in the long run we can reap the benefit regardless of what inconvenience we may go through now? Because according to your explanation, infrastructure development is good, but it should not be paramount right now. We shouldn't be fighting to pay road from say Monrovia to Vanjama, when of course when there's a complete blockade when it comes to rainy season, seen as Grand Julia and so on. This cause a lot of impediment when it comes to transportation of goods and services. You are not looking at it that way. And then your development also emphasizing on school. We need more teachers. We need to employ more people. Then my next question, are you looking at the budgetary allocation, the budgetary preparation by the government? How do you employ people that you don't have money to pay them? And if you do pay them little money because you just want to have them there, people leave and go out and educate themselves like you and feel very much disappointed to go back and work for change. As a result, we experience brain drain. How can you, reconcile that statement, given where we are now in Liberia?
Thank you very much, my brother. This is a very great. Those are all great questions. I just want to rectify make a little point of correction in the first question about human capital development and infrastructure development. No, I didn't say infrastructure development should be in a way, shape, or form minimized or less important to human capital development. No. In fact, I would like to see all of the things that, we can show as our iconic development in Liberia, and I would like to see them take hold now. I'm strongly for that. But what I'm emphasizing there, and you got it right, is if these things start to take shape and forms, and we don't have the human capital to maintain them, development have also got the dimension of sustainability. It's all too good to put an electric, hydroelectric plant down here, but are we going to implore our people from Guinea, Ghana, and Nigeria to come and operate the hydroelectric plants? While we have got the infrastructure to develop, we must also be developing the capacity of our people so that when the plant is there, they are able to maintain it. That is the sustainability factor of development. So they both work hand in hand, infrastructure development and human capital development. But what has been happening, and the debate for me, like you put it, have been on the emphasis of, infrastructure, which is right. I got nothing to do, against that. But I also want to see that emphasis start to shift to the people, focus on the people, both infrastructure. Look, the rules is a lifeline of any economy. If we don't have the rules, my brother, our economy will never grow. It will never grow. People should be able to travel from Grange at the end of that to all the way Cape Town within a day or two if we've got the rule. You should be able to stay in Monrovia and be able to get to Nima County within a couple of hours if we've got the rule, as far as, Conakry or wheresoever you want to go. And, Australia is by far bigger than Liberia, but we fly across the country here from state to state, go for meeting here and there and whatever. They have got the infrastructure. But this infrastructure should also be driven by demand. And the demand should be able to, should be sustainable. It must be sustainable. And what I see, if we don't have the human capital development, it won't be sustainable, my brother. And you are right. My specialty is in community development. That is human capital, empowering people, working with people to build their full potential. So I'm not a developer. I'm not an engineer to say I will be telling you all this is that. No. But I know that this infrastructure must be driven by demand. We must have stadiums 2, 3 around Liberia where we host some very professional games. But we also need people who will manage those stadiums when they are being erected, and not stadiums that are just erected and we don't have the mechanism to mobilize our people to use it to the best, make use of the best opportunity. Now, getting to the second question about that was with regards to education. Look, my brother, it is complete. Look, I was looking at the government budget, investment some time ago for the first 6 years of the current government in Liberia. Investment was over $20 billion investment alone into Liberia for the first 6 years of that government. I don't see, Liberia debt that got waived or so is between maybe 5 to 6 billion. You got record investments coming into the country. So if we start to talk about we don't have, I don't see it from that perspective. I always look at my things from a glass half full perspective, not a glass half empty. Glass half full. We've got something. Liberia, apart from the donors and NGOs that are operating in Liberia, we've got something. We've got natural resources. We've got, investors coming to make the most of these things. The government should start tapping into this coffer. The community pay tax in a lot of other areas. Revenues coming in. They are generally collecting fees from, other areas to the different autonomous agencies that we are speaking about. The government should start investing in people. This is what I'm saying. It shouldn't be money on paper, and the people cannot see the actual, reality. Our people are still going to bed hungry. My brother, I'm telling you this based on experience. I live in a refugee camp. I lived through hunger for 6+ months without food anywhere in sight. And the only other thing you got to do is to maybe go verify in the bush and, do something there and get food. But I know what it means now in Liberia because I live in the diaspora today, and the pressure is on us here. The pressure is on us here. Our family, loved ones, friends are calling us every time. I'm not saying it to say that we cannot, we shouldn't, commit to supporting them. But can you imagine if all of our friends and our families and our loved ones, at least if 60 to 70% has some sustainable form of income, you and I could channel the money we are sending into proper development. But the $50 you send today, tomorrow, your brother is going to call you and, be very angry because you are not sending money for the past 2-3 months. And we've got to work hard for the money here. We work very hard for the money. So the government should come and meet us halfway and say, look, we understand this is causing pressure. And all those in government, I know they have had experience living in the West, and they have had experience, remitting money back home. And they know what it means, You are under pressure. But we are not running from the responsibility. What we want to see is the government to lift its game. Look, can you imagine in the West where we live, in America where you are calling from, Minnesota? You know the unemployment rate there. In Australia, where I'm speaking from, if the unemployment rate reached 7% of this population, it's almost like war. It's almost like war. Everybody's going to be talking. In fact, the government is going to be talking about, kicking the government out in the next election. They don't allow the unemployment rate to reach 10%. It's total chaos. But in a country where you got unemployment, at almost 60 to 80, my brother, and people don't see that as an issue, I don't think, we are doing any good. There should be opportunities. There should be opportunities for our people to tap into. And I'm not discrediting the government. They are doing their best, but want to see more. And coming to the last point you raised about the brain drain, I think you're right. Look, the West is guilty, picking up the best brains from Africa through so many different processes, refugee resettlement, migrant or education exchange, and what have you. But honestly speaking, my brother, I want to get back home tomorrow and contribute. Tomorrow, I want to get back home and contribute. I have to consider everything that I'm involved in today. I got to consider how my, family going to survive. Am I going to be, like a liability to the government or to the community I'm going into? So the government, I know the government pays well, but instead of attracting foreigners, she really got a program to tap into the potentials that are being created outside in the diaspora to motivate people to say, okay, look, this is what is waiting you here. This is your area of specialty. Come in and let's work towards it. It is not so much because of the money, my brother, but if that effort is being made and people are honest, genuine, and sincere, they will go back home and support. But a lot of people are really self-interested. Let's look at the current situation in Liberia. You have got all of our people there from the diaspora. They go there, and at the end of the day, there's friction between those from the diaspora and people in the community about jobs. And it shouldn't be like that. Our brothers should be ready to welcome us. But if we go there and we start to disrespect our brothers because we have had the privilege to travel, it's not going to be, conducive. It's not going to be any, productive relationship. So all of these things, there must be strategy to tackle these things and give our people the incentives and say, Lord, they are coming and they can contribute and they are here to build your capacity. But I don't feel comfortable going back working in an environment where I earn $10,000 a month and then somebody who's been working there 6-7 years is earning $100, I don't feel comfortable. I mean, morally, let's be realistic here, honest. So not that you don't want to go back to contribute, but it depends on the individual. Other people will run for that opportunity immediately. I graduated with a master's since 2010 or 11. I'm planning to go back to school to do, so I could go to Liberia immediately after my graduation and say, Madam President, this is my credential, I need a job. But you got your upbringing, you got individual differences. Our same people who are coming from the diaspora and going back there, those are our same people that are earning, corrupting the system, sending the money back to pay their mortgage and their children's school fees and everything because they want to get quick money. I think there should be some check and balances to make sure that things are properly, intact and our people remain honest to the system, to their people, and they can work together in harmony. So the issue of brain drain, yes, But I can tell you, Australia have worked very hard towards that. Australia is very conscious of brain drains in Africa. So what Australia really want to do is through the scholarship program, want to make sure that they encourage people that after you acquire education, you go there and you remain part of a support network. Australia is doing really well in terms of, counteracting the whole brain drain incident. But we got professional doctors from our countries, lawyers, who should be in our country as we expect to be doing things. But my brother, if the infrastructure, the environment is not conducive, then those people are going to stay overseas for the rest of their life. I think the government should start motivating them not by words, but by action. What are the things that are necessary to attract them back? Salary is one, good, but that salary should also be, or measured in a way that the local employers or the local staff don't feel envious and jealous about the man who's coming with the skills and potential. And I can tell you this. Way from the diaspora, we have got the work ethic. You live in America, you know what it means to work for 6-7 hours. You work for 6-7 hours. You don't play around with it. If you go to work in the morning and you're supposed to leave from there, 5 o'clock, that's it. And you're going to produce. You're going to be productive. You are imbued with that work ethic, with that culture. If you went to the factory, and they say you are working on this line of assembly, you're going to stand there. If you are standing on you're going to stand there for that. You don't have the time to go and be texting all over the place. We've got it. We've got the ethics to actually get things done.
Okay, I'll take the next question, sir.
Thank you, brother.
1373, 1373. Please tell us your name, where you're calling from, and your question for Honorable Whitfield. 1373.
Yes, Brother Kafuma, this is Seya Yawana from Brooklyn Park, Minnesota.
Oh, welcome to the Liberian Diaspora Forum. I'm surprised your name didn't come with a number tonight. Welcome to the show.
I know. That's all right. That's all right. No, but thank you. And let me salute our honorable guests. And sorry if I don't call you by your name. I like to greet people by the name. I didn't get your name, so please forgive me. But I will call you honorable guest.
Bobby
okay.
Whitfield, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, Bobby. Okay. No, but let me say, first let me say I want to thank God for you, Bobby. As I listen to you, I think in my mind, in my spirit, I still believe there are a few more good people, if not more good people in Liberia than bad people. And Liberia is not forgetting, because people like you, as far as Australia, you still believe that Liberia can be a better country if we redefine our ethics and see how we can move the country with all of. As you talk about salary, I think another thing, if you may agree with me, you think the rule of law should be another component that will attract people like you and myself to go back to work in Liberia? Because here, I believe the thing is in Australia, the rule of law takes precedence over the rule of man. And if you live in America, Australia, and other Western countries, you are somewhat, acculturated with the system of justice and fairness. Even though people say, some people, can go to the justice system differently from other people. That's true. But one thing I know in America, and you can also speak to that from Australia's standpoint, no matter who you are, when you are supposed to go through the court system, you will appear. A former vice presidential candidate, John, Edwards, is one. So we have seen countless stories of people going through the justice system. Would you agree with me then that in addition to what you said, salary being one attraction, could you also agree that rule of law should be another aspect? And let me close on this. In Australia, what is your general perception about the TRC? Thank you so much again. God bless you, Bobby.
Thank you, my brother. Look, just to get straight to the point, the rule of law. In a land where there is no law, evil is the order of the day. And if the laws are there but not abided by, then you have people who live above the law. Nobody should be above the law. Look, in this country, even my police commissioner in my state has been pulled over for, going over the speed limit by just, another police officer standing. and he must put it through the system. It must get through the media. A police commissioner, he's one of the nastiest guys you would think about. But that's the rule of law, you know. You don't live above it. And our people should come to terms with this thing. They should come to terms with it. The rule of law is very important because it would define everything, you know, in our society. If we disrespect our laws, then we are heading nowhere, my brother. People are going to live above the law. If I don't have the means to live above the law, I have envy, hate, and one of you. I get through the system by all any means. Briberies and everything start to creep in. So no matter who, even the president of our republic, you know, with all due respect, it requires to go through the law. It must be processed through the law. Nobody should be above the law, including even the judges, you know. They are not above the law. If they are indicted, they must go through the law. And I strongly agree with you. I strongly agree with you. And look, I came to this country, in fact, driving, I will give you my personal experience, driving drunk, and a police officer pulled me over. And he tried to find me. I tried to, look, you know, I tried to find all sort of an excuse. The first question he asked me was, how long you been here? You know, I said, 3 years, you know. Oh, no, okay, I can understand. But next time you try to extend your hand with me with money in it, you're going to go for a very long time, right? Just as simple as that. This is the police officer. He must have, very first time being pulled over, you know, he must have in the dark, and I try to, you know, give him money so I can get a win. Why did I do it? Because I grew up in an environment like Guinea. Police officer pull you over. That's what we see our parents doing, so we're going to do it. But no, not the situation here. Your name is recorded in the database. You got to go to court. If you must go to court, your fine is going to be issued. And no matter what contact you have got, nobody can change it. You may even be friendly with the police commissioner or the judge may be your bully. He cannot change it. So the rule of law is very, very important. My brother, the TRC, let us get to the next topic. I think the TRC was part of the accord that brought the peace, you know, and in fact the government today in Liberia. Every aspect of that accord must be respected, and that's come to the rule of law. Every aspect of that Accra Peace Accord must be respected. If not, we are just, you know, you got different classes of peace or type of peace. We are just, you know, playing yet. You cannot have a major component of the, you know, peace accord being, you know, and other parts that favor other people being, you know, hailed. No, that's not the rule of law. The peace accord was developed by thoughtful people, and I think the Liberian, you know, community, Liberian as whole, should follow the rule of law. They should be implementing the Accra Peace Accord. And the Accra Peace Accord made provision for the TRC. The TRC also have got, you know, another stage, and I think that stage was the formation of the National Human Rights Commission or something, you know, and that commission must take lead on what the TRC says. So the debate on people who are indicted are those who are in government and what have you. Fair enough, they've been elected legitimately. You cannot undo it. But if they've been indicted by whatsoever instrument, they should be answerable to the next stage, you know. And I don't think we should be, you know, there should be a major debate. The Accra Peace Accord clearly stated these things, and people signed it and went for it, and that's what we got. So these things should be channeled properly, but I just don't buy into the rhetoric that, this person, you know, is trying to avoid the implementation and that blame game. No, I don't buy into that. We should go right back to the drawing board and see what are the elements of that drawing board, you know, that are missing, and we can rectify those things as quickly as possible. And I think the government have got a will to do it, and it shouldn't be, you know, these are allegations. Nobody is guilty in my eyes until you are proven guilty in the eyes of the law. So people should be answerable to allegations against them. Every one of us in leadership, every day we face allegations from all over the community. But if we are clear with our conscience, we should be answerable to the law. And if that is how the TRC should be implemented, then so be it. But I think the TRC should go through the next stage, which is the, you know, National Human Rights Commissioner in Liberia or something, and they were going to have that full implementation right. But I have not, you know, seen much done on it. But as far as I'm concerned, what the TRC have proposed, if that is the work of, the Accra Peace Accord and not just one or two person driven objective, then we should be looking at, the Accra Peace Accord. I don't want to put the emphasis on the TRC. It's just an instrument of the Accra Peace Accord. So the emphasis should be back on the Accra Peace Accord. This is the Accra Peace Accord that brought us where we are today, and it must be respected. It shouldn't be, something that we pick in it and say this is the best part of the peace accord and that is not the best. No, those who brought it together were thoughtful people, and we hear every one of them from where we are today. And I think if there is any concern, there is still a contact group on the Liberia. Those contact groups should be, involved, and we should advance our conviction with civility. I don't think demonizing and, all of these things will help us. And there where we stand, there where, personally I will be speaking from as president of the Federation of Liberian Communities in Australia.
Thank you. Folks, if you're just joining us, and I noticed, believe me, a lot of you have, tonight we are hosting the president of the Federation of Liberian Communities in Australia, Honorable Bobby Whitfield. He's calling from Australia, and he's speaking on the topic development in post-war Liberia. I don't think there's anyone more qualified to speak on that topic than a man with masters in development practice. If you have any question, comment, or concern, please dial *61 as usual, so that we can have your voice heard. I'll take the next caller here, 7867. The last four digits, 7867. Please tell us where you're calling from, your name, and your question for Honorable Whitfield. 7867.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Krumah, and good evening to our guests. All right, my name is Musa Keita, speaking from Minnesota, Rochester.
Welcome, Mr. Keita.
Okay, thank you very much. It has been very hectic and interesting having listened to some callers and the guests on the show tonight. We see the problem, first of all, in Liberia regarding development. Human capital is one of the areas that we should look at. But also, we should not ignore the issue of budgetary constraint when it comes to the government. There are priorities that have been set up, and the money needed to support those priorities very, very limited. Look at the budget, very small budget, almost equal to a state budget of the United States. Now, if we look at human capital, I want to invest in human capital, especially looking at education as a factor on our human capital. We need professional teachers. We need polytechnic, not the University of Liberia no more. We need polytechnic institutions that will teach people besides the theoretical aspects, but the practical know-how. Now, government needs money to support professional teachers in Liberia because the brain drain of the world vis-a-vis the continent of Africa is high. People get more salary in the United States or Australia or Europe compared to outside there, which is in the West or Africa. What can we do as people that are living in Australia or United States is to continuously volunteer to support human capital in our country by taking some time out. At least the Liberian United in Australia can send 5 persons in Liberia voluntarily through the Ministry of Education that will go in the interior, in the sciences and economic area to teach our people at least for 2-3 years. That will help us. But government will not be able to take out all the priorities on or even 20 years to come because our budget is very small. That's my contribution to them, Mr. Krumah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Comment, concern, or contribution, please dial *61. Honorable Whitfield, that was a comment, unless you want to add to that.
Yeah, look, Mr. Keita was spot on. Government cannot do everything. Like we've been saying it here, our people must take initiative and stop being we found fault in everything and we don't take initiative. We forget to know that we make the government. We are the government. We are the people, who elect those people to represent us. So they reflect us, We must take initiative. And corruption, when we're speaking about it, I told you very clearly, it's not only in government, it's in the community. People must take initiative. So Mr. Keita, you're spot on. And the Federation of Liberian Communities in Australia will be gathering all Liberians across the country. Traditionally, we celebrate our July 26th as a national event in one state. So this year is going to be happening in a state called Melbourne. In a city called Melbourne, that's Victoria, the state. And Liberians from all over the country are going to be going there. And we've got a planning national convention. And in that planning, one of the things we hope to, come out with is our national project for Liberia. But you are right. Those with qualification, we should be motivating them, even if that's 6 months or, 3 months to go and do something to build the capacity. So I strongly agree with you, Mr. Kader. And I think when it comes to resources, your own president in the United States of America, Barack Obama, one of the richest countries in the world, when he came to power, I don't think he had a very comprehensive knowledge of what budget existed. But he came with one thing: yes, we can. Look, if we adopt that mentality and that approach, that we can, yes, we can, I think if no mountain should be too high or too insurmountable, we will be able to cross whatsoever river and whatever with that mentality. But as soon as we go into the positive direction and we start to look at all of the things that we can do, we focus and waste all of our energies on things we can do rather than things we can do. We must start with what we can do. And I think what we can do are just, enormous, endless. We can do a lot of things. So, just wanted to comment on that, Mr. Kader.
Thank you. Apparently, Honorable Senior Yewule has a follow-up question. Honorable Senior, welcome back to the Liberian Diaspora Forum. Your follow-up question, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Brother Kurma. I just wanted to comment on the guest, our honorable guest, Bobby, and also Brother Keita. It's true that government can do everything, but I think sometimes we use that as an excuse. If we listen to our honorable guest, Mr. Whitfield, he said, I think he gave an estimate of government budget in the tune of $20 billion. If the figure is accurate, or even the estimate, just,
government revenue generated from investment for the first 6 years. Yeah.
Yes. Can you imagine that? So the point I'm trying to make here is true. I agree with two of your honorable guests and Brother Keita. However, I will also think that the government must set the stage for citizen participation. If the people don't feel, if they don't see the comfort zone where the government has created for them to participate in, to thrive in, it makes it difficult for people to take on initiative. So yes, government can do all, but sometimes we use that as an excuse for a failed government that is not producing the goods and services for its people. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honorable. Thank you. Again, that was another comment. Well, as always, you are the guest. If you want to add to that, you are more than welcome to do so. If not, I have a text message question here, and it says, how does government attract people of Liberia, Liberians returning from the diaspora, and Liberians graduating from schools in Liberia to the private sector job as opposed to everyone wanting to work for government? How do you have any suggestion, recommendation as to how the Liberian government can do that?
Yeah. Look, the government actually been doing well in that direction. I heard the president on numerous occasions telling people, look, if you want to make money and get rich, go to the private sector. Government job, you are civil servant. You work for the, serve the community. But the mentality, because of how corruption has taken hold in government, a lot of people think the easy way to make money now is through government, but that's the wrong way, And the private sector, I will emphasize this again, the private sector. And one of the ways government can start to attract people to go into the private sector, rectify the dual citizenship thing, so that we all go back and become investors and we provide employment opportunities to our people. That's one way. If people don't see that, they are citizens of their own homeland, then they keep holding back with investment. They will go and invest in another country that's going to, show more protection and what have you. You don't want to go back there and you start to argue with your own brother and sister on your own, or birth country, whether you're a citizen or not. That's just really an argument. But I think you can attract more people to go back home and get into the business sector, especially by providing loans. In the Western world, everything is bought on credit. You know that. Yeah, everything is bought on credit. The salary we earn cannot, afford everything. So everybody got a credit card in their pocket, and you got to, use it. And that's the business the bank is in. They have to give. But how many Liberians are fortunate to have, credit opportunity in Liberia? If they went to their own bank, they won't give them the money. They will give the money to a foreigner, The banks will give the money to a foreigner. What are we saying? Our people are not trusted. Our people cannot be trusted. So if a Liberian wanted money to a big business, instead of going to the bank, they will go to, maybe a Lebanese or, somebody, a foreigner, somebody from elsewhere to give them the money. That is not growing the private sector at all. If the people don't understand their responsibility on any credit scheme, provide human capital building capacity as well. Let them understand it. And the minister spoke, the honorable minister, she spoke about Liberians are traveling to China and traveling to places now, buying goods and bringing it back to Liberia. Great initiative. But if you are buying goods, you must know that the goods must be sold. And if people don't have the means to buy the goods from you, your business is not going to go according to how you want it to go. So those people must have employment as well. And those people are already in business and they are buying goods of each other. So we've got to look at all of these things, And I think to really do it is to inject capital into the community, into the poor people. If I don't have the purchasing power, I will not purchase anything. If I've got the purchasing power, business is going to boom. Business is going to boom. Our people, there are less than 4.5 million people now in Liberia. I think if we inject capital into the economy and everybody can go to bed with full stomach, the crime is going to minimize. That's another way to fight crime. Mahatma Gandhi said, poverty is the worst form of violence. People have not woken up to this fact yet. People have not woken up to this reality. Poverty is the worst form of violence. If I am hungry, I am angry. And I'm going to step out there, my brother, and I'm going to disrespect everything in my way. I'm going to destroy anything. I'm not going to be a responsible citizen. It is a way to attract people into that area, like my brother. It is not only those in the diaspora that we should be concentrating on. There are over 3 million people right in the country. We should be empowering them to enter the private sector as well. Liberians should have means to access some of those, booming mineral facilities and all that kind of stuff. Opportunities are coming up in the country. In Guinea, I know I worked with an individual from Guinea who wanted to come and sell some of his mineral to Australia, got in contact with me a couple of years ago, brought him over to this country, and he came with diamond and gold, fully certified and everything. This man showed me documentation of his own mine. He got a bastard mine. He's a Guinean. He got a bastard mine, he got a gold mine and everything. I know Liberians, they have it there, but they are still on low skill. I'm talking about somebody who's not traveling Israel, Korea, Australia, America, and all of these places. The government has empowered him. What we want to say or do with our government is to give you and myself in the diaspora the opportunity to tap into those networks that we have developed by appointing agents into those diaspora community. And agents can go and attract investors to go back to Liberia. But today, if you go out there and you start to speak about opportunities in Liberia, some investors will look at whether you are genuine or you are not genuine. Government should actually tap into these things. We have got people already all over the world for them. You don't have to be appointed ambassador before you can, lobby on behalf of the government. We all do it every day in our little, work environment, school environment, or neighborhood. We do it. We portray positive images of our country. The government should tap into these potentials and shouldn't be minimized. I think there's huge potential there. The government should start looking at ways to tap into it. And Australia stand ready. The Liberian community here in Australia stand ready to support whatsoever the government is in Liberia. We just want to see the right thing done by our people. And then we stand ready to work with the government of the day to make sure that we are getting our country moving forward to a bigger, better, and brighter future.
Thank you. Before I take my next question here, let me once again invite my listening audience. Folks, please dial *61 if you have any question, comment, or concern so that we can make your voice heard. And also, may I let you know that next week, Sunday, we'll have the Union of Liberian Association in Americas, ULA, executive leadership will be here, right here at the same time. They will be discussing citizenship. As you all know, a few months ago, there was an event organized in Washington, D.C. to bring a lot more awareness to the dual citizenship issue. A resolution has been passed, a copy of which I'm told is in President Johnson's solid possession. So they'll be here with us next week, same time, discussing that issue. With that said, I got a text message question here from Alfonso. Alfonso, right, that you've emphasized, you've made a lot of comparison between the West and Liberia. Are we not making the wrong comparison? Should we be comparing Liberia to Australia or the U.S. at this time? Shouldn't we look at Ghana, or maybe somewhere within the sub-region if we are to truly succeed in our development, effort? About Whitfield?
Yeah, look, Alfonso, I've been told that if your dream does not scare you, it's not big enough. And if you are jumping, you aim for the sun. And maybe when you miss it, you're going to grab the move. So Ghana and those places, look, it's just one of those things. Sometimes we wake up to reality and we see how far our neighboring countries have gone. When we were, when the country was being destroyed, other countries were building. So you're right. We can definitely get huge examples from the work ethics and what has happened in those places. But we also want to, get our ideas and, inspirations from a vast range of sources and the way there's to look. If we don't look into the U.S. and Australia and Canada or other well-developed places in the world, like it's not a difficult task for us to come together and really be genuine and sincere about development. And regardless where we are taking our inspiration from or where we are looking for examples, I think we should be really genuine and sincere about it. And I think if we start to get that message of initiative, patriotism, government advising our government rather than batching them all of the time. I mean, you need opposition to point out the ills in societies. You need these things. Your critics is the best organizer. If you don't have it, you cannot really, be organized. So, Alfonso, a great point. I agree with it totally. We can look right next to Ghana and Nigeria and other places that are ahead of us at the moment, but I think we can overtake these places. I got no, objection or hesitation that we cannot do better. We can definitely do better than Ghana. We can do better than Nigeria. We can do better than even South Africa and other parts of the places in Africa. But I'm sure that better what we can do, we need to work together as a nation and put the interest of our nation first and then move forward together.
Thank you. Folks, we are well close to halfway mark in this show, and so we'll take a quick break, and we'll return to pick up from where we left off. Thank you. We'll be back.
They call me again. You have a delicious. They call me again.
I own nothing. I want beating so what got more punishment for them. That Abe Masalene. Mama. I'm not Bobo. The more competition, that's why I'm abrogating. But I can't tell you now how much they are competition. No clap. I clap the audio.
After every 6 years, different phases, different platforms. Some claiming to be the right one. For another year has come. Who's gonna save us? Who's gonna wipe away our tears? They got me again. They got me again.
from the east to the west, west to the north, from the north to the south. They got me again, from the air to the ground, grind to the land, straight back to the sea. They got me again, that's also TMB for overseas. Coming with la logic sweet. They got me again. Be careful who you call your leaders, cause these suckers they are so OG. They got me again. They got me reap what they never sold. Got me eat the food that a man they never cooked. They got me again. Got me suppressed the fool. Got me back to the land that they disrupt and control. They got me again. With all their strategy, calling them politics, but I said I politics. They got me to lie, got me to see, got me jelly country, jelly elephant me. I tell they got me again. With free regulation, free water rest, and then free education. They got me with money, got me with car. Everything I said, I so people move around, but I know we shall know them. They can't fool us no more if they try, but I share we shall choke them. They've been doing this in rock or agent. This time we can take it, we will force their seats for years. I mean, again, they got me. With that bunch of lies. They got me again, they got me. Tell them who fly. They got me again, they got me. So make it go, people cry. They got me again, they got me. They got me. Medicine man, baby. Inside your eyes. They got me again. We all there for flyers. So there is control with an ugly picture. They got me there of hope for the future what they finish.
All right. Welcome again, and thank you for sticking with us. I want to thank you for being where you are, and once again, welcome back to the Liberian Diaspora Forum weekly talk show. That was our first half-hour break, and I think that's going to be our only break. I like to think so. So we are back, and I'd like to begin again by asking Mr. Whitfield. Recently, last night, actually, I just watched a short video of our current finance minister talking about some of the challenges that the Liberian economy is facing. Interestingly, the video is right up on YouTube. I just saw it last night, and he was making a presentation, and he highlighted a few points. Among them were the idea that it's almost impossible for somebody born and raised in Grand Cape County to go to Grand Jida and succeed and have any meaningful job in Grand Jida because Liberians still don't see each other as Liberians. Instead, they see people on the tribal line. It's mostly the thing that Unevame can be superintendent in Cape Town, and Une Krame can be superintendent in Grand Jida County. So he was making the case that his specific example was that in the U.S., for instance, somebody can be born in Georgia, and that person can move to Ohio and do perfectly well there, and go on to be whatever he or she wishes to be. My question is, I guess, do you agree with that? Do you see that as one of the problems? And also, he had mentioned that our economy at this current time is operating at a half-point mark. The way he explained that was that, say, if you travel the street of Monrovia after 6 p.m., Monrovia looks like a ghost town. All the stores are closed, all the businesses are closed. When you find in other parts of the world, there are 24-hour service going on. So he argued, therefore, that if we had 24-hour operation going on in most places, the issue of unemployment could be a lot more different because if you run a 24-hour shift, it's obviously going to require more employees to work different shifts, of your operation. So, do you agree with the finance minister's assertion, and especially with respect to the first part of it, where he talks about you are from? I'm assuming you're from Grand Bassa County. Correct me if I'm wrong. But would it ever be possible for somebody to come from Lofa County to go to Grand Bassa County and do any meaningful work there in the government sector, not taking our private sector?
Thank you, Mr. Kuma. I really appreciate it. And yes, look, my parents are from Grand Bassa, but I grew up and lived all of my life in Yekipa, so I'd like to see myself as an Ibadan. Yes, to get that record straight. First point, very well articulated by the minister. I've not seen the video, but I think from your paraphrasing of that video, It's one of those things that Liberia have missed up on the opportunity of decentralization. Monrovia is the macrocosm of Liberia. Everybody from the different countries lives in Monrovia, but you cannot find that scene being replicated in other parts of the country. And yes, very much impossible for people, But people are only attracted to go to these places based on the economic activities there. Like I told you just parents are from Grand Bassa County, and they moved in to Lamco Yikipa, and there where we grew up. I was like 1 or 2 years old when they got there, transferred to Yikipa. And basically there where we lived, and war broke up 1990, we fled and went into exile. But in Yikipa, you had people from all walks of life, not just around Liberia, but around West Africa, but as well as around the world, working in Yikipa and providing opportunities and, services and what have you. So we need to start setting up satellite cities around the country that provide such opportunity to generate economic activities that will attract people to go there. What am I going to do in Grand Bassa if I cannot find a job there in the first place? There must be a job there. And I think that is coming back. I think there are companies that are opening, and you will find people going to different places and digging their gold or diamond or whatever you. They are from different parts of the country. So those things must be properly examined and see how they can be improved so that people are not just confined within their country of origin. And decentralization would have helped if all of the government ministries would not just concentrate in Monrovia. We should start, there could be headquarters there, but the main base of service provision could be, spread across the nation. But the only people that enjoy government services are those that live in Monrovia, If you are not in Monrovia, you cannot really get a lot of opportunities for government services, even though the counties and superintendents, they are doing their best to cater to the needs of their people. But they are issues that could cause people not to move from one country to another. You must provide the opportunity, and that mobility will start to happen. Now, getting to the next point of Monrovia is almost a ghost town. After 6 p.m., businesses are closed, or what have you. I mean, that's after 6 p.m., but it could even be worse than that. It could even be after 3 p.m. in the afternoon. Why? Because people don't have the means to purchase. If people have got the West stayed open 24 hours because the consumer have got the purchasing power. Our people don't have the means to purchase. If somebody bought a jeans trouser here today in Monrovia, a jeans trouser will take them for maybe 6-7 months or even a year before they can think about buying another jeans pant. But in the West, you can buy jeans trouser today, and you like the latest fashion. Can you imagine the mobile phone we are talking about? You got Samsung Galaxy X4 coming up very soon. Before you know it, Apple is going to be releasing something, and that's how the consumer are facing these things. I'm not saying that's the best way to go, but if you're talking about generating economic activity way past 7 o'clock, then people must have the means. And I think, like the brother said, you got to provide, government must provide the opportunity. Government must serve as, the catalyst or the facilitators of these processes, and people will start to, get all of these things happening. So those are two good points that the minister made, and I think to get those things happening, we've got to look at investing in our people again, investing in our people, productivity, and prosperity.
Thank you. Take another follow-up caller here, and I believe I'm almost 90% certain that this is Mr. Trawale again, follow-up caller. 5728, I believe Mr. Trawale. Welcome back to the Liberian Diaspora Forum. Your follow-up comment or question?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, just Trawale. Thank you, Whitfield. Mr. Whitfield, coming back to the same development issue you alluded to, that you've been speaking of so clearly. But there's some tricky analysis that have been unfolding of late, particularly to the whole of the continent of Africa, not particularly Liberia, but we could trickle down to Liberia. With respect to development, we see development coming to Africa from two superpowers, so to speak, the West and the Eastern, no, not East, the Asian bloc, particularly China. China, if you look at Africa critically now and then, China has done great developmental projects in China. China partnership with Africa is kind of people consider as some eye-opening project. Whereas the West, they pretty much imparting knowledge. Like Mr. Whitfield, who in Australia, who I think is master now, who may one day decline to work to. I'm not saying Whitfield in particular, but a lot of people that the West are educated, so that know-how skill have been developed in us from the West pretty much. But sometimes we don't transfer it to our various countries in Africa. That's on one side. And China, particularly, taking the development straight on the ground, they don't pretty much work with individual, but rather do for the country. You see there are a lot of road network, a lot of technology that China is, carrying to Africa directly that the country benefit. So given the two scenario, given the two power of how they carry their developmental project in Africa, which side do you fall? Which side do you admire, given what you're telling us? So,
thank you, Brad. Thank you. That's a certain point. Look, it is not about the matter of where you fall, and no, I don't look at it from that angle, my brother. I got to be honest with you. And you are spot on. The West invests a lot in developing capacities, and those are intangible things. You don't really see it. And you see China will go in and build bridges, and the little man can actually see it, Not that the West are not building bridges and roads, but you see that's one of the comparisons our lay people will make. Look, development, as I always like to speak about it, it's deep, my brother. If you study the politics of development, you get to know that there is nothing for nothing. The very reason that the West went to Africa to colonize Africa is the same reason they are staying in Africa, but on a different agenda called development. We shouldn't be double victim. Double victim of colonization, where our land was divided without our knowledge and all the things that follow. There were positives and negatives in it. It's left with the, community to debate it. But then the sad part of another side of that victimization could be the new form that colonization has taken, which is, through development, the development agenda. Look, with all of the investment and aids and all the stuff put into Africa, I will tell you that Africa, or I can pick Liberia as an example, stand as a monument of the hypocrisy that underlies development. So we shouldn't start comparing the West to China. China is there for the same reason, to exploit. It's a capitalist environment. You go there, take the mineral resources out of the place and give them little or nothing. But that little or nothing, our people should make the most of it so that when they should have long gone, the younger generation will have something. Look at Yekepa. After how many years of exploiting the iron ore from Yekepa, can any Liberian tell me that Yekepa today is where they want to live? No. There's a big hole left in the ground, and we are left with nothing. I think, my brother, I would like to see more investors, the West, China, whatsoever, go into our countries. But I want to hold our leadership accountable, our people accountable, that there's investment that's coming to our country, we should make the most of it, not just for us, but for our children, our children's children. That is my take. It's not about who do I side with. Now, the competition is fierce. China will come in with a lot of money. And China is one of the highest contributors now on the continent, not just in Liberia or all over Africa. And people are buying into that mentality that, the West and this and that. But at the end of the day, the Chinese are taking the resources and developing their country. I told you earlier on in a deliberation that to develop, you must honor develop. For somebody to be a millionaire in Liberia, through the crooked way, the corruption, a lot of people will go home without their salary for this week because some, civil servant or government official have invested that money. So to develop, you must only develop. For China to get to where they want to be, they must go to other places that are resources rich and get the resources out with little or nothing. But that little or nothing accounts for everything for us. But then at the end of the day, our people don't want to be responsible with that little or nothing. This is where I'm coming from, not who's bringing it. We got to sell our resources, regardless of what. If we don't sell our resources, we're going to stop. So our other people come with, NGOs. Look at the number of NGOs today in our country. We shouldn't even be having ministries. NGOs should look after everything, if that is what NGOs are actually going to do. Perpetuate themselves and stay there for the rest of their time. And money goes through these things. But this country that are supporting NGOs also getting their incentives through multinationals. Multinationals go there to make businesses, and once the multinational interests are not being protected, then we cannot get the donor money that we're supposed to be, So, look, brother, it's a whole web of entangled politics. And we got to look through it. Africans, Liberians, our leaders, our people must sit back and say, well, look, what can I do? There's an opportunity here, even though I'm being exploited, and not just cry, but make the most of the opportunity. I have said that I look at the situation from a glass half full perspective. From a glass half full perspective. And if we start to look at it from that angle and say, look, okay, $20 billion of investment came to this country within the first 6 years of our administration, it got to count for something. I can keep going out there and talking about, we don't have the money to pay our teachers, so education is, very poor. We don't have a hospital system, and we have to run our children and our people out of the country to go and get treatment elsewhere. It is not about who's providing or who's coming to invest or what we make of the investment that comes to our show. I think this is where I want to put the emphasis in the focus. And not, I will prefer America to China, or I would prefer China to America, or Australia to this country. No, that's not my point there. We should make the most of whatsoever comes in terms of development.
Okay, thank you. Folks, we are well over the half-point mark of this show. Before you know it, we'll be ending the show, and there are a good number of you here. And I like to think, rather, that we all want to see Liberia develop, so I think we should all be willing to talk about it. So if you haven't had a chance to say anything, this might just be your chance. Please dial *61 or text your question to me. I'll take the next caller, 9771. 9271. 9271. Please tell us your name, where you're calling from, and your question for Mr. Whitfield.
Yeah, this is George Toto. I'm calling from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Welcome, Mr. Toto.
Yeah, I've been following the development. I just wanted to put a correction out there when the speaker was speaking. He made mention of China being a capitalist state of society. Yeah, I just wanted to make that correction. I think China is a communist society, not a capitalist state. Thank you.
Is that it?
Thank you, Mr. Toro. I totally agree with that. I was not I'm talking about the business activity, the transaction that is happening. China come and buy goods and, take it for their purpose. That's capitalism. I'm not saying the country is a capitalist country, but the process, the transaction that is happening, they will buy and go and take it, that process, and they make profit out of it by developing their infrastructure. That's what I was referring to. So thank you very much, Mr. Toto.
Okay, thank you. I'll take another follow-up caller. I believe this is Mr. Keita from Rochester, Minnesota. Mr. Keita, welcome back to the Liberian Diaspora Forum. Your follow-up comment or question. Hello, Mr. Keita? Hello? All right. Obviously, it's not by his phone, but he sure made an entry. All right. Well, so let me. Let me read out these few announcements here. As always, if you would like to listen to a repeat broadcast of tonight's show, please dial 559-726-1299. The only difference between the recording number and the number you use to come to the conference tonight will be the last two digits, 559-726 and 1299. Then the access code will be the same one you use, which is 908209. That's what you need to dial to listen to a repeat broadcast of tonight's show, at least up until I have the time to upload it on YouTube like many of our previous shows. With that said, let me also remind you that next week we will have the leadership of ULA, Union of Liberian Association in Americas, will be here same time discussing the current effort with regard to dual citizenship. And the week following that, I believe we'll have a new organization called Coalition of Liberia for Justice, I believe, some group that just came together for the sole purpose of tracking war crime and making sure that they are brought to justice. So we'll be busy. Let's try Mr. Keita again and see if he's ready for his follow-up question. If not, then Mr. Keita? Hello, Mr. Keita? All right, I will clear him from the line. Obviously, it's not by his phone. So as we approach the end of the tonight's show, Honorable Whitfield, this guy just came by. So, Honorable Toto, welcome back to the show. You have a question this time?
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to make that clarification and ask a question about. Okay. Yeah, my question on Mr. Whitfield. I listened to most of the comment and statement you made concerning the West China in terms of the development in terms of their development in Africa, for example, for Liberia. But where you reside, Australia, there's no much information about Australia when it comes to Africa as compared to other West Asian countries like China or the United States, into the invention. So can you just tell a little bit about some of the developmental process that Australia is engaging in Africa? And then also, some time ago, I listened to the Prime Minister, what's his name? The Prime Minister, when he was addressing Parliament, and then he made an apology to the Aborigines on the way in which they were treated and to accept them back in the society in Australia. So what is the relationship there now when it comes to Aborigine and I don't want to say white or whatsoever, but with other Australia and with their role in other African countries in terms of development?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Tutu, for your concern of Australia. I mean, a lot of people don't really have interest, especially in the politics of the land down owner. We like to call ourselves the land down owner. But you are spot on with your questions. I really appreciate it. Australia investment in Africa is huge, or interest in Africa is huge. And Australia has been in Africa for, ages. And I remember one of the same former Prime Minister you are referring to, Kevin Rudd. He had a review of Australia's relationship with the countries of Africa, and I put in through my role on the Refugee Council. We put in a summation to that review, and Parliament called on May and the Refugee Council to give evidence to some of the things we spoke about to the committee. And that review led to a lot of positive developments and some recommendations that the Australian government took on squarely to increase her presence in Africa by, sending more envoy from the Prime Minister. So we now have got envoys. I think the latest development is Australia negotiating the opening of a permanent post in Monrovia before the ambassador, the High Commissioner in Ghana was looking after pretty much all of West Africa, or a huge chunk of West Africa. Honorable Billy Williams is the Australian High Commissioner in in Ghana, based in Ghana, Accra, and I visited him on an occasion, and he spoke to me as well about some of Australia development, and I had particular interest in Liberia. Australia is really involved in supporting the agricultural sector, building capacity with ethics in government, the education as well through the scholarship program. If you recall, about a couple of years ago, you wouldn't hear about Liberian, coming to Australia on scholarship, but now there are over pretty much, that I can think of offhand, over 20, recipients of the scholarship from Liberia, including former government ministers and, civil servants. Two dimensions of Australia's scholarship program to Africa. You got the long term and the short term, where people come and actually study at the master level, and, they come and study at 1 or 2 years, courses here to build their capacity and be able to go back and do work, especially in the mining area. So Australia have got a very huge presence in Africa, but as well as Liberia, they are building it. And we in the Australian diaspora, we want to leverage our position to make sure that we can contribute to that process. And we are in the process of working with the different, especially Australia have got, international aid, development wing, the AUSAID, and we want to tap into that and see how we can improve some of the things that is being provided or supported in Liberia, because I think we enjoy best of both worlds. We've got experience from back home, and we got experience here, like yourself in America. We know what and where, and understand what development is needed most. So I think our voice will contribute. And besides, we are taxpayer here, so we should have a say in how our taxpayer money is spent back home in our country of origin. So we are actually working on that process, and we'll have a voice, and pretty much FOLICA will have a national project in Liberia. Coming to the internal politics and not politics, internal issues of the country, Australia, I would tell you, my brother, this is one of the best country on earth you can live in. I'm not saying it because I'm on an energy rest or anybody pressure me to say it, but I'm saying it from experience. I came to this country pretty much 11 years ago, and the opportunities is just enormous. And you got support to really make sure that you settle in. And not just for, newly arrived refugee migrants. It's also extended to even the Aboriginal community that we are speaking about. And as it may be portrayed out there that Australia is a racist country, I would say no. Erase that, count that out. Racism exists, discrimination exists, but it's a very distant country with a long history of welcoming people from all walks of life. And people who come to this country will tell you that they are not going back because they have seen a place they want to be. Very peaceful, very amicable. The Australian common way of life is how you might. A fair go. Everybody should have a fair chance in the society. You remember our country, Australia, is the only country that went through the global economic, financial crisis without, major issue to the economy. While that was on, the Prime Minister at the time was so far-sighted, he injected a lot of capital into the economy by donating money, giving money to each citizen. Each citizen of this country received over $900 in their bank account the next morning just to go and, stimulate the economy. Can you imagine that? What country is doing that? Other places it may have happened, but maybe through goods or services. But Australia, physical cash was deposited in each citizen bank account, overnight. The opportunity is huge. It's a young and growing country, but one of the oldest democracy. And I really like the politics and the openness of our politicians here. They are down to earth. They come and meet us in our communities, sit with us in our homes, have coffee. They go back to Parliament and they argue our issue. We may be raising issue in our Liberian community, and before you know it, if we contacted a local parliamentarian, he will be, in Parliament the next day and, using it as an advocacy means. So that's how strong our relationship with our people here. So the relationship with the indigenous community is courteous, it's very respectful, responsible. They are hard-working indigenous people in this country. They are, in fact, the past human rights commissioner of this country was indigenous background. They provide a great leadership, and these are people who are hospitable. Indigenous community or population, Aboriginal, they welcome everybody. They make you their friend. You are welcome to their land, and they appreciate you, and respect and acceptance of each other. This is one of a true example of a multicultural country, my brother. So, like I said from the opening, if you ever thought of, relocating or migrating somewhere else, give Australia a shot, and you will find no reason to ever leave this place.
Well, thank you. Just to be clear, though, before I take the next, perhaps the last caller for the night, the idea of the government depositing $900 in each every citizen's account, does that mean our people didn't benefit that? You have to be an Australian citizen, or you mean every person in Australia? You have to be a citizen? Is that correct?
Yeah, I think citizen or permanent resident. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure that our people benefited from that too. It wasn't just limited to.
No. I got
okay. Okay.
I got my.
All right. Well, I'll take the last.
Do that here. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think we did still something like that done here, but I think it was just $300. So I could be wrong about
that.
There you go. But with that said, I'll take the last caller for the night here, and this is Honorable Eminent Wetty, former president of EULA, and he's also the chairman for Dual Citizenship Committee that I talked about earlier. I'm sure they're all going to be on this show comes next Sunday. But before I do so, I want to personally thank you. There's something about all of my guests, but there's something particular about those of you who call from million miles away. Last week, Sunday, we had the privilege of hosting the mayor of Ganta City, Mayor Deed Do Cooper. He was calling from Sanicole. That was very interesting. It was really entertaining. And so here you are calling from million miles away as well, Australia. So I'm really, delighted. I can't thank you enough. So I will take these last two comments, Eminent Wetty, and then I believe Josh Toto has just made another entry. And then after that, or maybe in your closing remark, you can address those two so we can hold you any further. All right? So let me open Honorable Eminent Wetty's line and see what he has to say, and then we'll go to Josh Toto, and then we'll call it a night. Honorable Wetty?
Yeah, thank you, It's always good to be on the show, and next week we're going to be at. My brother from Australia, thank you very much for coming on. Like the moderator mentioned, I'm the chairman on the dual citizenship, and we have been working with one Edwin Solo. Do you know him?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So we've been working with him on this issue. So maybe off the line, I may get the number from the moderator and check with you because we want to follow up. Edwin has been a very good friend. He's been attending our meetings. And, because I don't know how big Australia is. I don't know the geographic in the area. So, I may call you so we can all talk and see how we can work together because we are working with Edward and everything is going fine. And I just heard that you wanted to lead us in that area. So I won't mind talking to you. So I just want to tell you thanks for coming on. I will try to get your number from the moderator and we see how we all can all work together and make this thing happen. So besides that, what is your own view on dual citizenship before I even advance the evening?
Well, thank you very much. And we would like to take our hat out to, our brothers and sisters in the diaspora, the broader Liberian diaspora. I think you have done great, job to bring this all together and get our voice on social, very important national issue. I just want to start with, congratulating you for chairing social committee and the Liberian community in the Australian diaspora that I represent, the Federation of Liberian Communities in Australia. Is very happy to work with you. You mentioned the Honorable Edward Solo. He's one of our elders here and an honorable man of our community. He was the interim chairman of the Federation. and just January we had an election and there's a new leadership. So I think dealing with the new leadership won't hurt. It will be the way forward. And I'm happy for the moderator to pass on my contact details, and I will be speaking with Mr. Solo as well that I spoke with you. So thank you for engaging or being proactive to have engaged our interim leadership at the time and stay engaged with the interim leadership. Look, I spoke on dual citizenship issue earlier on in my deliberation. I said we strongly support it, and I feel that it's discriminatory, unintentionally discriminatory to some of us who left the country not by our own ways to go and seek greener pasture. We left because of war and we undergo struggle. We didn't come here just yesterday and take up citizenship. Some of us lived in refugee camps for years before, ending up in Australia, and we have to take up the opportunity and all of those things. But we have not detached ourselves from our homeland. We follow development back home. We're joyful when there's positive from the country. We were celebrating the victory of Lone Star over Uganda, where talking about it, drinking our beer and all that stuff. We are still connected to our country. There is no way somebody would deny me of my birthright and I just sit and don't talk. So we want to weigh in. We want to be part of the debate, whatsoever way we can contribute to the debate or to whatsoever proposal that is going on. We are very happy. Like I said, Mr. Solo has been doing the work with you, and we appreciate that, and it will be, really good. We take up from there and we continue to contribute. So thank you again for bringing it up, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you. So then that brings us to George Toto again, and I must say the very last caller for the night, and then hopefully you can address that in the process of making your closing remarks. So let's say, George Toto, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thanks also to the gentleman from Australia. But my concern is to you, Mr. Moderator.
Yeah.
First, let me say a very big thanks to the show. Mm-hmm. I want to the key member of the show, and but there somehow they certify the way in which you got disseminate information out recently, in terms of the show. Okay. In terms of the publicity aspect. Initially, when the show started new, the publicity was very great. It was up to the time we were getting it, but all of a sudden, without even getting publicity again, we just hear that the show was on so there. So I just want to encourage you guys to try to step it all back again, in terms of the publicity of the show, to get all back again.
Tell me, I don't know if you got anything for the guests, but on that note, the first part that he just brought out, I am equally concerned about that. Now, if you can recall, I traveled to Liberia for 3 months. I was in Liberia for 3 months, and while I was gone, the show took a different turn. People that were left in charge, they had some difficulties with it. They tried their best. I'm not trying to discount their effort, but the show took a huge hit and then came back trying to pick up from where it was. As far as publicity, I'm really struggling with it. If there's any way, form or shape that you can help, I'd be more than happy to welcome that. We've been looking for help everywhere. Today, when I put up this announcement late last night, I called a lot of people, including Bangali Trawale, to forward the message on all the Liberian listserv. I'm very limited when it comes to listserv. I'm on just a few listserv, and then an announcement was posted on Facebook. I did a bunch of text messaging, and I don't know if you got any of those. But if you have any suggestion on how we can widen our publicity network, I'd be more than happy to take that recommendation and go that route. Last but not the least, what's been happening too is that the last two guests, Honorable Whitfield and Honorable Cooper, the Ganta City Mayor, I contacted those last people at the 11th hour. It wasn't until late last night that I confirmed disappearance, and so that way it's kind of hard to do any major publicity ahead of time when you don't have the information. So I got to know late last night, and between then and now, I just did what I could. That has been a factor too. But I'm more than willing to suggestion and any help in that regard.
Okay. Right? All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. I was saying, Yola?
Yes, sir. Yes, I mean,
I guess we're just about to
Yeah, quickly. I just wanted to say in the opening manner that this is our show, and we'll do everything to keep it. I think Brother Tote is right, but I will step up to the plate any day, any hour. Call me. I mean, you know me, so don't even say I made a mistake. Call me any day, any hour. We have to promote this show. Lister, yes, I can do a lister for you. This is our show. We like this show. This show is very meaningful to us, so I will step up to the plate in the open manner. Call me any day, anytime, any announcement you get, give it to me. I'll do it publicly for you.
Thank you. Thanks for your support. Well, Keita, we tried a line earlier. You were not there. You had left. Any final comment before our guest makes his closing remark here?
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Mr. Kuma. I noticed that. I'm sorry. First of all, I want to appreciate this show, the Liberian Diaspora Forum, and our guests. We hope this will not be our last time. I think this program to be on the show as a guest so we can share ideas. The more we talk, the more we arrive at a logical conclusion in all the interests of Mama Liberia. I hope the Australian community, the Liberian community in Australia is making a headway in going down to Liberia to employ or to have our people employed in various private area where they'll be investing. I want to ask the chairperson in Australia, when are you going back home, sir?
Thank you.
Hello, that's Saturday on the card. I take my free choice in Liberia, and I definitely got every, intention to go back home, but I just don't know when yet. But yes, to answer your question is yes, I will be home.
All right. Go ahead. Just follow through with your closing remark, Honorable Whitfield, if you don't mind.
Thank you, Mr. Kuma, and management team of LDF. I think this is a wonderful opportunity to raise awareness of the Liberian, diaspora here in Australia through the Federation of Liberian Communities in Australia. Awareness, like we spoke about, the number of Liberians in Australia, how they came to this country, and the opportunity they are making the most of today. So I think it's very good for our brothers and sisters around the world to actually hear from us. We are here, we are alive. Please engage us and be positive. But I thought this forum also provided that platform for us to be heard in the important national debate of our motherland, Liberia. And I hope I have been a humble servant on your show, and I look forward to coming back anytime. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Whitfield, and thank you to each and everyone who made tonight's show. We look forward to having all of you here next week, same time, with Eula talking about dual citizenship and other weeks to come. So let's call it a good night so we can get our guests out of here so you can attend to other things. Thanks to everyone. Good night to all.
Thank you very much.